Welcome to the Lex Dynamic channel. And today I'm going to be talking about a very troubling appearance that J.D. Vance had in the media. Specifically, he went on what was the Charlie Kirk radio show and really talked about gutting American civil rights and free speech rights. And that's what I'm going to be discussing today. But first, um, let's listen to some music from me, Lex Dynamic, coming up from my third album that streams for free on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the rest. You can stream my first two albums for free on all those networks. And here's a snippet from my third album that is actually being released on Monday, September 22nd. Okay, so J.D. Vance went on what was Charlie Kirk's popular radio show on a network called Rumble. First of all, I have no idea what the hell Rumble is. There are so many damn social media networks right now, I can't keep up with them. I mean, is Rumble like Bumble? Is it anything like that? Is it like Grinder? I don't know. What is Grinder? What is Bumble? I don't know what's on there. I'm 50, I'm married, and I'm boring. My life is really boring. It pretty much consists of being a civil rights lawyer and making music and doing this channel and petting my pugs. But in any event, he went on there and had a lot of things to say. Let's get a few things out of the way. Number one, J.D. Vance is a piece of garbage. Let's just be very clear about that. He is a political thug. And in some respects, I actually find J.D. Vance even more dangerous and reprehensible than Donald Trump. I mean, that's hard to say because Donald Trump is so incredibly awful. Maybe I should just say that J.D. Vance is equally reprehensible to Donald Trump, but even more dangerous. Because the thing about a guy like Vance is that he's a combination of having no moral fiber whatsoever, but having a great deal of ability. J.D. Vance is a lot of things, but he's not stupid. Donald Trump is stupid. Vance is not, and he is capable. Both of them are evil, but a guy like Vance actually may be able to accomplish more than a guy like Trump because he is every bit as malignant as Trump, but nowhere near as inept. And I don't think that J.D. Vance ever can be elected president in this country, but I would not take my prediction as having any kind of value whatsoever because I never thought that Donald Trump could be elected either. And I never thought we would be at this position where the Congress would completely roll over and be Donald Trump's lapdog. And the Supreme Court, to this extent, would be his lapdog. So, really, when it comes to these predictions, I don't know anything. So, now that I said that J.D. Vance probably won't be America's president at any point, he most likely will be. So, the other thing to consider here is how inappropriate this is. The J.D. Vance now is going on what was the channel of a racist, chauvinistic, homophobic individual and promoting the Trump Vance brand. Because that's exactly what this was. And now he's using that as a platform to continue to basically fire up the base and really start engaging in some very dangerous actions because there are some very dangerous ideas that he talked about. So Vance first talked about the crackdown on radical left lunatics. All right, fine. There are radical left lunatics in this country. There's no question about that. Now, I am liberal, but I'm not a radical leftist. All right, I don't believe in revolution. I don't believe in communism. I don't believe in political violence. And I know that there is an element out there. That being said, the radical or reactionary right lunatics are far more plentiful and far more dangerous. There is no comparison. Now, I have no tolerance for either side or for radicalism in general. Historically, it leads to nothing good. But let's be clear here. There is one side that is more dangerous. And the ironic thing is that Vance was talking to one of those reactionary, radical right lunatics because he had Stephen Miller on his show. Now, to me, as a Jew, Stephen Miller is an absolute disgrace because Stephen Miller is someone with zero redeeming qualities. Zero. I think that if there is such a thing as someone of my faith, well, even though I don't really practice, but I was born Jewish, but if there's someone basically like Stephen Miller who subscribes to that German ideology, it's him. Okay? I view Stephen Miller as a pure distillation of evil. And here we have Vance and Miller talking to one another, two right-wing lunatics who are talking about how dangerous radical left lunatics are. So they're already living in an alternate reality. And what Miller said is that he would use the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security to disrupt unspecified networks that are responsible for provoking violence. Think about this. Now he is talking about using the mechanisms of government, the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security, to go after people that they disagree with. Two things. Number one, the Department of Homeland Security is the biggest department in the American government. The resources that it has are absolutely astonishing. Number two, the Department of Justice is probably the most powerful domestic branch of the government. They can make people's lives absolutely miserable. And the FBI is on the Department of Justice, and that legal tool can easily be used for manipulation. And now Stephen Miller, who is not in charge of either department, but is basically saying, I'm going to take over and I'm going to run these departments to do these things. Later, Donald Trump told reporters at the White House that he would consider conferring the designation of domestic terrorist organization on Antifa. All right, a couple of things here. First of all, there is no official designation of a domestic terrorist organization in the United States. We say that, but Donald Trump, who doesn't know anything about anything or how the government works, but knows enough basically to nevertheless screw everything up, still says, yes, I'm going to confer the designation of domestic terrorist on them. He might as well confer the designation of Smurf and Smurfette and say that they are no longer blue and instead are red because they're Republicans on them, and that would have as much meaning. It means nothing. Then we're talking about Antifa. Okay, I don't know what Antifa is. Now, I'm not denying that there are a bunch of idiot clowns out there who spent maybe 15 minutes reading Karl Marx and think that now they have a full understanding of the world, thinking that they have all of the solutions to global problems and especially America's problems. Yes, I know that this cadre of losers and idiots is out there. Do I think they're organized? No. Do I think they're an official organization? No. Do I think that they have any idea what they're doing? No. And do I think that they're a threat to America? No. But at the same time, they're a convenient boogeyman for thugs like Miller and Vance and Trump. Later on, Trump also said he has spoken to Attorney General Pam Bondi about federal racketeering charges against other agitators. Agitators, okay. What is an agitator? So people now who are critical of Donald Trump most likely will be seen as agitators and already are seen as agitators. Anyone who's critical of Charlie Kirk is seen as an agitator. So now if you're spreading your free speech or exercising your right to free speech, you're no longer just someone who is exercising their American rights, you're an agitator. Vance said earlier on Monday that he would go after the NGO network that foments, facilitates, and engages in violence. NGO, that's a non-governmental organization. What the hell is J.D. Vance talking about? And again, this is not accidental. Say what you will. J.D. Vance is not stupid. He is very, very intelligent. when he says something like that, he knows exactly what he is saying. So when he is talking about going after non-governmental networks or non-governmental organizations that foment, facilitate, and engage in violence, what he is talking about really are democratic organizations or any other organization that actually is willing to challenge this criminal organization that is currently occupying the White House. And he actually identified some. The vice president suggested two early targets that have long held the ire of Republicans. One is the Ford Foundation, which has been around since 1936 and actually tries to push for liberal causes. And the other is the Open Society Foundations, the nonprofit run by George Soros, who is this boogeyman of the right, because he is one of the rare billionaires actually was liberal rather than conservative. Neither one of them has been responsible for any kind of domestic terrorism, foreign terrorism, any of this. They haven't been responsible for fomenting any kind of violence, facilitating violence, engaging in violence. That doesn't stop J.D. Vance from creating this nonsense narrative that they are still actually engaged in that. That's what J.D. Vance does, because J.D. Vance has no moral fiber whatsoever. He's a liar, so he's going to lie. Then Vance said, these organizations receive generous tax treatment and help fund The Nation, a left-leaning news magazine, that Vance accused of misquoting Kirk. First of all, if The Nation misquotes Kirk, who gives a damn? We still have free speech rights. I don't give a damn whether The Nation or anyone else misquotes Kirk, right? And by the way, Charlie Kirk said enough awful stuff over the course of his life that you don't really need to misquote him to reveal that he was an awful human being. I'm not celebrating what happened to him. I don't endorse it. I'm not okay with political violence. It was a tragedy. I don't support it. But I don't miss the guy, not even a little bit. And I don't care that he's gone. There's a difference between supporting something like what happened to Charlie Kirk, which I do not do, and not caring when it happens. And I don't give a good goddamn. Think about it. He's saying he's going to go after people who receive, these organizations that receive generous tax treatment. Why? Because they contribute to democratic causes. Then, if you try to gut a lot of this fundraising for the Democratic Party, well, then suddenly it becomes easier for the Republicans to win elections. Think about what's happening here. They are using the death of Charlie Kirk to now further manipulate the democratic process and undermine American elections. That's exactly what the plan is. You don't even have to read between the lines here. Anyone can figure this out. A dead person can figure this out. You can dig up the body of Napoleon and George Washington, and they would know this. And he's saying, well, they're helping fund The Nation. First of all, that's not true. The Nation has never taken any money from the Open Society Foundations and hasn't taken money from the Ford Foundation in years. But even if they are, who gives a damn? They're allowed to take money from whomever they want. They are a newspaper. Again, they have First Amendment rights, which J.D. Vance right now wants to dismantle. Think about it. We have a vice president right now, clearly under the direction of the president, who wants to go after a newspaper that has existed for 160 years. How is this not a problem? I don't give a damn whether you're on the right or the left. How does somebody not see this as a problem? This is the kind of thing that takes place in Putin's Russia. This is the kind of thing that took place under the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. This is the kind of thing that takes place in China. This is not supposed to be America, and yet this is normal right now. Then, the vice president, a close friend of Kirk's, also encouraged people to call out those celebrating Kirk's death. Hell, call their employer. Okay, again, first of all, I'm a civil rights lawyer. Anyone in my state, I'm in Colorado, who has celebrated Charlie Kirk's death and works for the government and gets fired, give me a call. I will gladly represent you. Again, it's not because I endorse celebrating that. But at the same time, you have the right to celebrate it. That's what free speech means. Free speech is easy when everyone agrees with you. It's really easy to say, oh, I love all puppies and they're fluffy and nice. Where free speech becomes challenging and really important is when someone says something that is so reprehensible to you, that bothers you so much at the core of what you are as a human being, but you nevertheless say, I agree with his right to say it. That's actually Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said horrible things. I don't have to go through all of them. They're easy to find. And at the same time, that piece of garbage had every right to say what he had to say. And I support his right to say it. What I'm not going to say is, oh, you're a Charlie Kirk fan? Well, you know that he said that Ketanji Brown Jackson was an affirmative action hire, and that that black people were better in the 1940s, and that we shouldn't have passed the Civil Rights Act in the 1960s. Oh, those are awful things. I'm still not going to call your employer and say that you should be fired. That's between you and your employer, and you still have a free speech right if you work for the government. I don't give a damn that I don't like what you say. You have a right to say it. And the right to say something in this country is more important than actually what you are saying. Even the left got away from this for a while. And some people still on the radical left say, oh, you know, maybe we should limit free speech laws. Fuck you if you want to limit free speech laws. That is the core of what America is. It is the foundation of what America is free speech laws. And I don't give a damn if you're on the right or the left and you want to limit free speech. I've got a problem with you. And I've got a problem with J.D. Vance because that's exactly what he's trying to do. Next from J.D. Vance, and this is rich. Jesus Christ, this is rich. Quote, we don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. Good. Does this man realize who he works for? J.D. Vance doesn't believe in an ounce of civility. His boss is the most uncivil, whatever the hell the word is. Jesus, I should know this word. I'm a fucking lawyer. There are some words that I should know more. Either way, that piece of shit has no civility whatsoever. None. And he says, we do believe in civility. No, you don't. We don't believe in political violence. Really. Because you look at any study that has been done, the right is a lot more responsible for the political violence in this country than the left. It's been that way for years. In the 1970s, actually, it was the left. Since then, it's been the right. Oh, and then this is rich. Quote, I really do believe that we can come together in this country. I believe we must. Shut up. This is the most divisive presidential administration in modern history. Nobody's coming together. The only thing we're coming together of is sensible people are coming together against someone who's an incredible liar and is trying to destroy this country, against people like J.D. Vance. Vance said, but unity, real unity, yes, can be found only after climbing the mountain of truth. Oh, fuck. And there are difficult truths we must confront in our country. Fucking J.D. Vance couldn't step over a pebble of truth, let alone actually climb a mountain of truth. Who are we talking about here? What? This is like some kind of bizarro world that J.D. Vance, who cannot go for 2 seconds, even in his sleep without uttering a lie, is talking about climbing a mountain of truth. Further from Vance, this is not a both sides problem. Yeah, you're right. It isn't. It's primarily the right that's responsible. Quote, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and this is the truth that we must be told. Yes, your side has a much worse problem. I can go through everything, starting with January 6th, going through Melissa Hortman, talking about John Hoffman. That's the side that has much more of an issue. Miller claimed a vast domestic terror movement of left-leaning non-governmental organizations is promoting violence in the country, but did not name them. They're getting ready to start going after legitimate left-leaning organizations. If this is allowed to continue to go on, this is the end of our country. When one side is systematically dismantling the other side, using legal means to do so, that is something that is intolerable in any democracy, and yet it is being tolerated right now. Every Republican in Congress is complicit in that. The Supreme Court is complicit in that. And if this continues, this is the end of our country. It is really that simple. I'm going to be talking more about this, and specifically, I'm going to be talking about the efforts thus far to fire people from their jobs who said sometimes even really mild things about Charlie Kirk, and how government actors right now are engaged in a systemic process of getting them fired. We have not seen anything like this really since the McCarthy era in the 1950s, and we have not seen anything like this in modern America, and this is more of what you would see in Putin's Russia. The country is falling apart, and we have malignant actors who are responsible for it falling apart. Okay. I had said before I started my TikTok channel to promote my music, and go ahead and listen to my music. Hell, I'll keep making it because the world around me is falling apart. Check it out. Here's another little snippet on the way out. Stream for free on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, all the other platforms I will charge for my music.